In this video, I'd like to talk about systems of equations word problems. And honestly, these problems can be very difficult because in these problems, you'll need to define variables and then find two different equations from the information. Once you've found those equations, then you'll have to solve them. So let's jump right into this problem. So Logan genetically engineered a new type of fir tree and a new type of pine tree. The combined height of one fir tree and one pine tree is 21 meters. The height of four fir trees stacked on top of each other is 24 meters taller than one pine tree. How tall are the types of trees that Logan genetically engineered? And for this one, we're going to need to define the types of trees as our variable. And we know we have a fir tree and a pine tree. So you can often tell what you need to define as a variable by looking at the question. So each fir tree is blank meters tall and each pine tree is blank meters tall. So when we define these, I'll use F for, this is the height of the fir tree. And you can imagine we can use the letter P, and honestly you can use whatever you want, but that is the height of the pine tree. So we're looking for the height of these trees. And now that we have the letters, we can go in and come up with the equations. So this tends to be the hardest part, coming up with the equations. And one of them tends to be a little bit easier than the other one, but not always. So notice this sentence here, the combined height of one fir tree and one pine tree is 21 meters. So remember that F is the height of the fir tree, or one fir tree, and P is the height of one pine tree. And they're saying that when you add them together, because we're combining them, that it's 21 meters. So we can say that F plus P, when we add the height of the fir tree and the height of the pine tree, it is 21 meters. Remember that word to be with word problems. That is the equal sign. So this equals 21 meters. And this should make sense. The fir tree plus the pine tree, if you just have one of each, because we essentially have one F and one P, when we add those together, we get 21 meters. And it might also be helpful to put the units for your variables. That might just help keep things organized. Now, the next sentence is harder. The height of four fir trees stacked on top of each other, or added together, is, there's your equal sign, 24 meters taller than one pine tree. So we need to figure out how to write that as an equation. So the height of four fir trees stacked on top of each other. So essentially, you're adding this fir tree F 4 times, or you could think about it in terms of multiplication. So this is 4 fir trees stacked on top of each other, since F is just the height of one fir tree. And it's is 24 meters taller than one pine tree. So is equals 24 meters taller than one pine tree. So basically you have a pine tree and we're going to add 21 meters to that. So, 24 meters to that. And this expression here is a pine tree plus 24 meters. That would give you 24 meters above that pine tree. So we have our two equations, and from here we just need to solve this system. Now, for a lot of these, I would recommend substitution, but if you want, you can use the elimination method as well. So let's solve for P, but you can solve for F if you want. So P, we'll subtract F, is just 21 minus F. Now, everywhere I see a P in the other equation, I'm going to replace it with what P is equal to, this 21 minus F. So we get 4F is 21 minus F plus 24. So let's add F to the other side so that all the F's are together. And then 21 plus 24 would be 45. And then lastly, we're just going to divide each side by 5. And the height of one fir tree would be 9. Now, once you figure out one of them, then you can plug it into the other equation. So if we plug in 9 here, then you get 9 plus P is 21. Or you could have plugged it in here, and P 21 minus 9 would be 12. So the height of one pine tree is 12. Now, you want to make sense of these. before you just start plugging it into the box, because it's very possible to make a mistake somewhere in this process. There's a lot going on here. So let's just think this through. We know that they're going to add up to 21, since that's how we found P, but let's use the other equation to make sense. So the height of 4 fir trees, so if each of them are 9, then when we stack them on top of each other, we'll get that 36 meters. And that's supposed to be 24 meters taller than one pine tree. Well, pine tree is 12, and if we add 24 and 12, we get 36, which is what we'd expect. So we checked it with the other equation. It made sense, so we can feel very good about this. We can plug that into the box and feel confident that we're getting it correct.